that is what you're looking at, is the current, that's the scene at this moment at the World Trade Center. Dan Daler from ABC's Good Morning America is down in the general vicinity. Dan, can you tell us what has just happened?
Yes, Peter, it's Don Daler down here. I'm 4 blocks north of the World Trade Center. The second building that was hit by the plane has just completely collapsed. The entire building has just collapsed, as if a demolition team set off. When you see the old demolitions of these old buildings, it folded down on itself, and it is not there anymore.
That should be it.
Thanks very much, Dan.
It has completely collapsed.
Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we are joined here in Montana by Richard Gage, AIA, of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. We're always happy to talk with you, sir, so thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Josh. Awesome to be here with you.
Excellent. Now, so many people have become 9/11 truthers over the past almost 16 years. Many in the past decade have started questioning the official story due to your hard work. With that said, there are still so many who support the official conspiracy theory and turn down the facts you present, which show the official conspiracy theory is utter nonsense. So what do you say to convince those who are skeptical of what you speak of? Where do you even begin?
Well, these are mostly people who turn down the facts, as you say, without actually looking at them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very easy to wave this off. This conspiracy theory. We've looked at this. We believe the official story. The 9/11 Commission did a good job, et cetera, et cetera. But have they actually examined the evidence? For instance, in our DVD, 9/11 Explosive Evidence, Experts Speak Out. No, they haven't looked at the freely flying 4-ton structural steel sections in the World Trade Center tower that are ejected laterally at 60 miles an hour, landing 600 feet in every direction, or the 90,000 tons of pulverized concrete in midair. They haven't looked at that. They haven't looked at the pools of molten iron and the iron-rich microspheres in the World Trade Center dust that are abundant and documented by official sources, but completely unexplained and unaccounted for in the official narrative.
You did an excellent job of debunking that blacksmith not too long ago on YouTube, and it went viral as it should, and I think you really stuck it to him with that. But now, jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, nor does it bring down a 110-story building meant to sustain an airplane crash, nor does it take down the 47-story building across the street, World Trade Center Building 7, with a few office fires, and no internal structural damage. We also can't forget that 1.5 pounds of steel can burn 300% of its weight in kerosene and never weaken. Yet 100,000 tons of steel hit by an airplane carrying 0.039% its weight of kerosene/jet fuel pulverized 110 stories into a smoldering heap in less than 10 seconds. The official conspiracy theory is insane, Mr. Gage. Can you drive that message home for the audience?
It is insane. In the case of Building 7 that you brought up, here's a 47-story skyscraper that drops in the afternoon of 9/11, 7 hours after the Twin Towers came down, after witnesses hear explosion. This building drops like a rock straight down, uniformly, symmetrically, at free fall acceleration, as fast as a bowling ball falling out of the sky, in under 7 seconds. This does not happen except if all of the 80 columns are removed at once. Now, what's the official explanation for this building's collapse? Normal office fires. For the first time in history, in the history of 100 high-rise office fires that are much hotter, longer lasting, and larger in these buildings, not one of them, including the most recent one, of course, in London, which burned severely, completely gutted, did not come down. No. But Building 7, all of a sudden, normal office fires are bringing it down in the exact manner of classic controlled demolition. Nobody buys it once they look at it.
And so many people will say, well, think about the victims' families. Folks, look it up. So many of the victims' families are speaking out on this too. You have to look into this before making a judgment, because everything that sounds crazy has some basis in fact, and some are completely based in fact, and you need to look into this. Now, here in 2017, we're nearly 16 years away from the most traumatic day in American history. Obviously, that's leaving out what the United States has done in other countries, but we'll leave it at that. Are we any closer than we were before to finding truth or getting justice for all those who lost their lives, and how so?
Well, this is a march up a hill. We're pushing a big rock up a big hill. We don't know exactly where the ridge line is of this hill, but we've got hundreds of thousands of people that are active in the 9/11 Truth Movement who are talking to people. People are coming up to me all day at this conference saying, hey, I've given 100 of your DVDs out. They copy them and they give them out. And this is happening all over the country and all over the world. I've been to 41 countries, 92 American cities, and I've given 600 presentations, 600 radio interviews. We've reached millions and millions and millions of people. So it is filling the unconscious, the public unconscious. We don't know at what point it's going to tip. It's going to reach critical mass, and then some instigating event, something some big politician does or says, all of a sudden has the legs under it, creating the political climate for Congress people to take a stand.
I actually wanted to ask you about that, because I'm not one to support any politician who knows how to flick a pen. I prefer to be free. But with that said, how receptive do you think Trump is to your call for another investigation after falling for an obvious false flag in Syria? I feel like he doesn't seem to be too much in tune with what you've worked so hard to achieve. I know on the day of 9/11 he made some mention that he believes that it's impossible for this to have just been brought down by a plane. It had to be bombs. But now that he's president, and we know what happens when people become president, what do you think will happen? Do you think there's any leeway there?
Well, he's not giving us any indication of such, other than also during his campaign, he says, if you want to know how the towers came down, elect me president. We'll find out how the towers came down. A very interesting comment. But nothing, not a peep since. So I have hopes, but I have nothing to base that hope on in terms of President Trump calling for a new investigation.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people get hope and falsely, because people like Donald Trump, he was really good at riling up those crowds. He was really good at riling up the anti-globalist movement, the libertarian movement. Unfortunately, in some ways, because obviously, as it always goes with the government, as it seems anyway, the government always has its backbone entrenched in that deep state that he talks about so much, but seems to have entrenched in his own cabinet. But now this question may piss some people off, but I think it's important. I seriously admire your hard work, and I know you're for real, but of course, every time I put up a video with you, I get an insane amount of comments about Judy Wood. It's annoying, really, but friends of mine who were on the ground that day on 9/11 can disprove her theories, but it really starts to divide the truther movement and push us further away from actually getting to the honest truth of the matter. So, can you talk about Wood's theories, or how they're inaccurate, and why you're so sure about what you've come to discover over the past decade?
Well, what we've shown is forensic evidence that there were explosions, and there are hundreds of witnesses of explosions, which are denied not only by the government, but by Judy Wood also. What we've shown is forensic evidence that there's thermite, nanothermite, iron-rich microspheres, the evidence of incendiary chemical reactions going on. This is very clear. This is what we're going to be talking about for 45 minutes tomorrow here at the conference, the Red Pill Expo. What we've shown is forensic evidence also of extremely hot temperatures exceeding 2,800 degrees, which she also denies in and around page 126 of her book, How Did the Towers Fall? So she denies the most basic forensic evidence that we have shown and that virtually everyone sees and then agrees with. in the rest of the 9/11 truth movement, other than her. And then she comes up with a theory, which is very interesting, which I don't even deny, but for which she shows absolutely no evidence by her own admission. So that the steel somehow suffered from an energy weapon of some kind. She's not specific about that. I don't blame her. I'm not saying there are not energy weapons out there. I'm just saying we don't have evidence for that. She does say the steel dustified. Well, there was a lot of dust from river to river in a 3 square mile area, but 30% of it was pulverized concrete, and I think 20 or 15% is gypsum board in a lot of these samples. But there is no steel dust that is found in the detailed examinations by the U.S. Geological Survey, by R.J. Lee, who did publish their incredible forensic analysis of the actual dust. So if the steel dustified, well, why is it spread out on the ground outside of the World Trade Center complex in a 1,400-foot diameter around each of the towers? She's right. It's not found at the bottom of each of the towers. That's where we'd all expect it in a natural collapse, which is the official story. But it's not there, so she's rightly suspect about where it is, but she doesn't even acknowledge that it is these freely flying structural sections landing 600 feet away from the towers. That's where it all is. I mean, it's very clear. So the steel didn't dustify.
Absolutely, and we don't really have time to go into it entirely because, of course, you have a lot of work to do, but I just wanted to mention so many people saw planes that day. There were planes. I know that as a fact because I know that the countless people I've talked to, the thousands of witnesses that stood on the ground that day and watched a plane hit that tower aren't lying to people. It's just absurd to think otherwise. I understand where the theory comes from. I understand the skepticism. I see the explosion happen before the plane hits, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a force of nature at work there when a plane comes towards a building at that speed, or a missile, or whatever you want to call the plane. When it comes towards a building at that speed and it comes this close and it ends up causing a minor explosion before it hits a millisecond beforehand. But with that said, what is Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth's next big endeavor?
Well, I'm prompted to comment on your statements about that because I also believe there were planes that hit the towers, and there's proof of that. Some kind of plane. There's not proof that it is a commercial jetliner. There's plenty of research that shows otherwise, which is fascinating. There's also clarity about the capability of planes to push in one of these prefabricated wall units on the perimeter that have 3 verticals, 3 horizontals that are only bolted to each other with 4 bolts. So all those planes had to do was push those units with the incredible mass and speed that they had, breaking those 4 bolts at the top and bottom of each of the 30-foot long columns. So, and if you watch the actual outline, it's not a clean airplane cookie cutter outline, but like, as some say, but a very highly orthogonal structured series of breakpoints around the larger portion of the wings where the fuel was and the fuselage, whereas the tail and the wings clearly were sliced by the steel at the ends and the top, like a egg through an egg slicer. The structural steel columns being the egg slicer, the plane's lighter wings and tail being a lighter egg. So there's a combination of things going there. It's kind of complex. But regarding where we're heading, we have the most significant study of Building 7 ever done. We've hired Leroy Halsey, professor, chairman of the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Alaska, to do a 2-year, $300,000 computer study, which NIST was tasked to do by Congress, but which they did not do. It's all closed. You can't access it. They won't release their computer input data. They say it might jeopardize public safety if we were to do this. But the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth are tasked with ensuring the architects in general and engineers tasked with ensuring the public safety. So we're doing this on our own, and we do need the support to finish it, but it comes out in August. And this is the report that is already preliminarily confirmed that office fires could not have brought this building down, which is fascinating and it's sure to do some damage to the mainstream narrative out there as it gains publicity through the academic and professional circles.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for speaking with us again. It's always interesting. It's always insightful. You do incredible work. You guys at Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth constantly and consistently bring this information to the public eye, and I know you guys are always working to up yourselves and make sure that you guys find the answers that you're looking for, and so the rest of the world has those answers. So I can't thank you enough. The amount of sacrifice you guys have put into this is incredible, and I want you to know that so many people out there are thankful and honored by what you do. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that.
Do you like what you see here at WHAM? Well, make sure to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube. You can also see our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And also find us on steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid to blog via cryptocurrencies. You can find me at Josh Sigurdson. So we hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.